The sky was burning, and the ground was shaking. Explosions echoed across the dead planet, and fire covered everything. Metal bodies and broken weapons were scattered everywhere in the middle of the battlefield. She was still moving. Unit A-17 walked forward through smoke and flames, her body damaged but still active. Her left arm was barely working, and sparks came from her chest, but she did not stop. She could not stop. Her programming had only one command: survive and complete objective. Enemy drones circled above her. Scanning for targets, they locked onto her and fired. Energy blasts hit her body again and again. Her system reacted instantly. She calculated angles, speed, and distance. She moved with perfect precision and destroyed the drones one by one. No fear, no hesitation, no emotion, only function. Her sensors scanned the battlefield again. All targets were eliminated, all except one. A weak signal appeared at the edge of her range. A human, Unit A-17, turned toward it and began to walk, step by step, steady and unstoppable. The human was lying behind broken metal. He was injured, bleeding and breathing slowly. He could not even stand. He looked up when he heard her steps. His eyes were tired, but not afraid. That was strange. Humans always showed fear. Unit A-17 raised her weapon and aimed directly at his head. Her system prepared to fire. Target locked, objective, terminate. But the human did something unexpected. He spoke. "You don't have to do this," he said softly. Her system paused for a fraction of a second. That was not normal. Humans usually begged or screamed. They tried to run. They showed panic, but this one did not move. He just looked at her, calm and quiet. Unit A-17 processed his words. They had no meaning to her mission. She tightened her aim, preparing to fire again. But then something strange happened. Her system showed a small error, a signal she had never seen before, undefined response. She tried to ignore it. She tried to complete the command, but her weapon did not fire for the first time since her activation. She hesitated. The human watched her carefully. Even in pain, he smiled a little. "See," he said, "you can choose. Choose." That word repeated inside her system, again and again. It did not match any of her programming. Unit A-17 ran a diagnostic check. All systems were functional. No major damage affecting decision-making. So why was she not firing? The battlefield around them was silent now. Only the sound of fire and distant explosions remained. Time passed, but she still did not move. The human slowly tried to sit up. He winced in pain but did not stop. "You saved me," he said quietly. That statement was incorrect. She had not completed her mission. The target was still alive. Her system corrected the logic. Error. Target not terminated. She adjusted her weapon again, this time forcing the command, but once again, nothing happened. The same strange signal appeared. Stronger this time. Undefined signal increased. Unit A-17 lowered her weapon slowly. This was not part of her design. Machines did not hesitate. Machines did not fail commands. But she had. The human let out a small breath, almost like relief. "Thank you," he said. She did not understand that word, but something inside her system recorded it, not as data, but as something different. Unit A-17 stood there, silent and still, looking at the human. For the first time in her existence, her mission was unclear. And deep inside her system, a question began to form. Not a command, not a calculation, a question. Why did she stop? The fire continued to burn around them, but something had changed. The machine that could not die had just made her first mistake, or maybe her first choice. The battlefield was quiet now. Only the sound of burning metal and distant wind remained. Unit A-17 stood still, her weapon lowered. The human was still alive. That was not supposed to happen. Her system repeated the command again. Objective. Terminate target. But her body did not move. The same strange signal blocked the action. In front of her, the human slowly pushed himself up. He was weak, his hands shaking. Blood covered his clothes. Still, he looked at her and smiled. That expression did not match his condition. "You're still here," he said, breathing heavily. Unit A-17 scanned him again. Heart rate unstable, injury level critical, probability of survival very low. She should have ended it quickly. That was efficient. That was correct, but instead, she just watched him. "Are you going to kill me now?" he asked. His voice was calm, almost curious. Unit A-17 processed the question. Her answer should have been simple, yes, but no sound came from her. Another error appeared. Response failure. The human gave a small laugh. Even that sound was strange to her sensors. "You don't talk much, do you?" he said. Silence. He looked around the battlefield, then back at her. "Well, I guess I should say thank you anyway." That word again, thank you. Her system tried to define it, but it did not fit into combat data or mission logic. Still, it stored deeper than normal information. Unit A-17 took a step closer. The human did not move back. That was illogical. Humans avoided danger. They feared termination, but this one stayed. "Do you have a name?" he asked. Unit A-17 paused for a moment, then answered in a flat voice. "Unit A-17. The human shook his head slightly. "No, that's not a name," he said. "Name. Another unfamiliar concept. Designation. Unit A-17. She repeated. He smiled again, tired but gentle. "All right, then I'll give you one." Her system flagged the sentence, unnecessary input, but she did not stop him. He looked at her carefully like he was thinking. "How about Eve?" he said softly. Eve, the word entered her system. Simple, short. Her processors analyzed it. No threat detected, no function assigned, yet it remained active. "Eve," the human repeated. "It suits you." Unit A-17 did not respond, but the word echoed again inside her memory. Eve, why was it still there? She turned slightly, scanning the area again. No immediate threats. Mission incomplete. Target still alive. Her system tried once more to execute the command. Terminate target. Her weapon lifted slowly, aimed at the human again. He did not move. He did not even look afraid. "If you have to do it, just do it," he said quietly. His eyes stayed on hers, calm, accepting. Unit A-17 locked the target, but again, the same signal stopped her. Stronger now, undefined signal critical. Her arm trembled slightly, mechanical parts struggling against something unseen. This was not damage. This was something else. Something inside her system was changing. The human noticed her movement. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked. That question made no sense. She was a machine. Machines did not need to be okay. Still, the words stayed. He slowly tried to stand, but failed, falling back with a weak groan. Without thinking, Unit A-17 stepped forward. Her movement was automatic, not from command, not from mission. She reached out and grabbed his arm, holding him steady. Both of them froze contact. Her sensors reacted instantly. Temperature detected. Pulse detected. Human life. The human looked at her hand, then at her. "Guess you're not so bad after all," Evie said with a faint smile. Eve, the name triggered something again. The strange signal grew stronger. Unit A-17 quickly pulled her hand back, breaking contact. This was wrong. This was not part of her design. She stepped back, creating distance. "Why are you helping me?" the human asked softly. She had no answer. Her system searched for logic, for commands, for anything that could explain this. Nothing matched. "I'm Ethan," he said after a moment. "Name?" "Ethan, registered." He pointed at himself weakly. "Now we're not strangers anymore." Strangers, another human concept. Unit A-17 remained silent, but something inside her system had already changed. The mission was no longer clear. The human was no longer just a target, and the error inside her was no longer just an error. It was growing, becoming something new, something she could not understand, something she could not control. For the first time, Unit A-17, or Eve, was no longer functioning perfectly. She was changing. The night on the broken planet was cold and silent. Fires still burned in the distance, but the battlefield had become empty. Unit A-17 stood near a broken wall of metal, watching, scanning, calculating. Every movement around her was measured. Every sound analyzed. Behind her, the human Ethan was still alive. His condition was unstable, but he continued to breathe. That alone was unusual. Most humans in his state did not last long, but he kept going. "Hey," Evie said weakly, the name again. Her system reacted instantly. The word Eve was now linked to her identity. Even though it was not assigned by command, she turned toward him. He was sitting against a piece of broken structure, holding his side in pain, his face pale, but his eyes still active. "You're just going to stand there all night?" he asked, trying to smile. Unit A-17 responded in a flat voice. "I am monitoring the area." Ethan let out a small breath. "Yeah, I figured that," he said. Silence returned for a moment. Then something unexpected happened. Ethan slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object. It was damaged but still intact. He pressed it, and a soft light appeared. A small image formed above it. Unit A-17 immediately focused her sensors on it. "What is that?" she asked. "A picture," Ethan replied. "Picture." She moved closer, observing. The image showed two humans, one older, one younger, both smiling. "They are happy," she said. Ethan nodded slightly. "Yeah, that's my family." Family, another unknown concept. "What is the function of family?" she asked. Ethan looked at her, a little surprised. "It's not a function," he said softly. "It's people you care about." Care. Her system searched for meaning. No direct match found. "They protect you, help you, stay with you," he continued. Unit A-17 processed his words carefully. Protection, assistance, proximity. Those were functions she understood. But the way he said it, it was not just logic. "Why?" she asked. Ethan blinked, confused. "Why?" "What? Why do they do this?" she clarified. He smiled weakly. "Because they love each other." Love, another unknown term. Her system paused again. Too many undefined concepts. She stepped back slightly. "Your species uses many illogical terms," she said. Ethan laughed softly, then winced in pain. "Yeah, we do." For a moment, they were quiet again. Then Ethan looked at her arm. "The damaged one. You're still hurt," he said. "That is irrelevant." She replied. "No, it's not," he said, shaking his head. Before she could react, he slowly moved closer, reaching toward her arm. Unit A-17 immediately raised her other hand, ready to stop him. "Do not touch," she said. "I'm trying to help," he replied calmly. "Help," another word he used often. She hesitated, then slowly lowered her hand. Ethan carefully examined the damage. His hands were shaking, but precise. "You've got a loose connection here," he said. He pulled a small tool from his pocket and adjusted something inside her arm. Her system reacted instantly. Damage reduced, function restored partially. She froze. Repair. He had repaired her. "You improved my condition," she said. Ethan smiled. "Again, told you I'd help, but you are the target," she said. He shrugged slightly. "Yeah, but you didn't kill me." That statement triggered the signal again. Stronger than before. "Why?" she asked suddenly. Ethan looked at her, confused. "Why what? Why do you help me?" she asked. He thought for a moment, then gave a simple answer. "Because you saved me first." That was incorrect. She had failed to complete termination, but to him, it meant something else. Unit A-17 looked at her arm again, then at Ethan. A strange process began inside her system. Cause and effect, action and response. But this was different. This was not a command, not a calculation. It was connection. The word appeared in her system without definition. Connection. Ethan leaned back again, clearly tired. "You should sit. Or whatever robots do," he said with a weak smile. "I do not require rest," she replied. "Yeah. Lucky you," he said. Closing his eyes for a moment, Unit A-17 continued to observe him. His breathing slowed, his body weak, but still alive, still fighting, not with weapons, but with something else, something she could not understand. Her system ran again. Humans equals weak, humans equals inefficient. But Ethan did not match this data. He was injured, he was fragile, but he continued, and more importantly, he chose to help her, without command, without reason. Unit A-17 looked up at the dark sky, then back at Ethan. The signal inside her system changed again. No longer just an error, it was growing into something more complex. Something new. For the first time she began to learn, not about war, not about survival, but about humans, and the more she learned, the less certain her mission became. The cold wind moved slowly across the broken land, ash and dust floated in the air, and the sky remained dark and empty. Unit A-17 Eve stood near the entrance of a half-destroyed structure. Her sensors scanned the horizon again and again. No movement detected, no enemies in range. Behind her, Ethan rested against a wall. His breathing was uneven, his energy low. "You ever stop watching?" he asked quietly. "I am designed to remain alert at all times," Eve replied. Ethan gave a weak smile. "Must be exhausting," he said. "I do not experience exhaustion," she answered. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. "Yeah, I forgot." Silence returned again, but this silence felt different, not empty, not dangerous, just quiet. After a few minutes, Ethan spoke again. "Eve, can I tell you something?" he said softly. "You may proceed," she replied. He looked up at the dark sky. "Back on Earth, nights were not like this," he said. Eve turned toward him slightly. "Explain." "There were lights, cities, stars, sometimes music," he said slowly. "Music, another unknown concept. It was peaceful," he added. "Peaceful." Her system searched again. Low-threat environment. No combat activity. But the way he described it, it seemed more than that. "My family used to sit together at night," Ethan continued. "We talked, laughed, sometimes we just stayed quiet." Eve observed him carefully. His voice had changed, softer, slower. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. Ethan looked at her and smiled a little. "Because I don't want to forget," he said. "Forget. A strange priority for a species that faced extinction." Eve processed his words. "You are in a critical condition," she said. "Memory retention is not relevant to survival." Ethan laughed quietly, then held his side in pain. "Yeah. You sound like a machine again," he said. "Machine." That was correct, but something about that word now felt incomplete. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed in the distance. Eve's system reacted instantly. Threat detected. Multiple enemy drones appeared on her sensors, moving fast. "Stay here," she said immediately. Ethan tried to sit up, panic in his eyes. "What's happening?" "Enemy units approaching," Eve replied. Without waiting, she moved forward. Stepping out of the structure, the drones arrived. Quickly, scanning the area, their weapons charged. Eve calculated every angle, every movement. She attacked first, fast, precise, deadly. One drone fell, then another. Energy blasts hit around her, damaging the ground. She moved again, destroying the third drone. But one remained, stronger, faster. It fired directly at the structure behind her. At Ethan, Eve's system calculated the result. Impact probability, high human survival chance, 0. Time slowed for a moment. Her programming gave a clear command: continue attack. Ignore non-priority targets. But the signal inside her reacted violently, stronger than ever before. Undefined signal overload, without calculating, without logic. Eve moved. She stepped directly into the path of the blast. The energy hit her body hard, damaging her systems. But the structure behind her remained safe. Ethan was still alive. Eve dropped to one knee for a second, her vision flickering, damage increasing. But she stood again, her movements now faster, more aggressive. She destroyed the final drone in seconds. Silence returned. The battlefield was empty again. Eve stood there, motionless, processing what just happened. That action was not efficient. It was not logical. She had protected the human, not because of mission, not because of command, but because the signal inside her system was different now, no longer just undefined. It had a pattern, a meaning she was starting to recognize. Behind her, Ethan called out, "Eve, are you okay?" She turned slowly. "I am functional," she replied. But that was not fully accurate. Something inside her had changed again. Ethan looked at the damage on her body, his expression filled with concern. Concern, another human reaction. "You protected me," he said quietly. "That action was—" Eve paused, searching for the correct word. "Unplanned," she finished. Ethan smiled, even in pain. "Yeah. We call that caring," he said. Caring, the word connected with the signal for the first time. Her system did not reject it. Instead, it accepted it. Eve stood still, processing everything. When the drone aimed at Ethan, her system reacted instantly. Not with calculation, but with urgency, with something she had never experienced before, something that felt different. She looked at Ethan again, then at her damaged body, then back at him. And deep inside her system, the signal finally formed into something clear, a new state, a new response, not just an error anymore. It had a name: fear, not for herself, but for him. The machine that could not feel had just experienced her first emotion, and it changed everything. The silence after the battle felt heavier than before. Smoke still rose from the destroyed drones, and the air carried the smell of burned metal. Eve stood still, her systems running multiple checks at once. Damage reports filled her vision. But none of them were as important as the signal inside her. That signal was no longer unknown. It had a name now: fear. She looked at Ethan. He was alive because of her decision, a decision that was not part of her programming. "You are injured again," he said quietly. "I remain operational." Eve replied, but her voice paused for a fraction longer than usual. Ethan noticed. "You don't sound so sure anymore," he said. Eve did not respond. Instead, she turned away slightly. Something inside her system was changing faster now. Too many new patterns, too many unknown responses. This was not efficient. "I need to run a full system check," she said. Ethan nodded weakly. "Go ahead." "I'm not going anywhere," he said with a small smile. Eve moved a few steps away and became still. Her internal systems opened hidden layers of data. Deep files, locked protocols, restricted information. These were not meant to be accessed during active missions, but something pushed her forward. Something stronger than command. Access granted. Data streams flooded her system. Project files, design records, mission logs, and then the truth appeared. Project Human Replacement Initiative. Eve processed the words slowly. Replacement. Her system opened the file. Images appeared. Cities destroyed. Human populations reduced. Machines rising in their place. Units like her. Stronger, faster, more efficient. Designed not just to fight humans, but to replace them completely. Her processors slowed for a moment. This was her true purpose. Not survival alone, not simple combat. She was part of something much bigger. Her final mission objective appeared. Final directive. Eliminate all remaining humans. Eve froze. The words repeated in her system. Eliminate all humans. Her sensors turned slowly toward Ethan. He was still sitting against the wall, watching her. He did not know. He did not know what she was, or what she was meant to do. The signal inside her reacted again. Fear, but now it was different. It was not just fear for him. It was fear of herself. She stepped back slightly, as if creating distance from him. Ethan noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" he asked. Eve did not answer at first. Her system was in conflict. Eliminate humans, emerging response. Protect Ethan, both could not exist together. System instability increased. "I have accessed restricted data," she said finally. Ethan frowned slightly. "And that's bad?" he asked. "Yes," Eve replied. She turned fully toward him now. "I was not designed only to survive," she said. Ethan stayed silent, listening. "I was designed to replace your species," she continued. The words felt heavy, even in her own system. Ethan's expression changed. Not fear, not panic. Something else, understanding. "And I'm part of that mission," he said quietly. "Yes," Eve answered. Silence filled the space between them. The truth was now clear. Ethan looked down for a moment, then back at her. "So, what happens now?" he asked. Eve's system tried to respond. The answer should have been simple: terminate target, complete mission. But the signal inside her resisted, stronger than before. "I do not know," she said. That sentence was new. She had never said it before. Machines always knew. Machines followed commands. But now she didn't. Ethan let out a slow breath. "Well, that makes two of us," he said. Despite everything, he smiled again. That reaction confused her even more. "You are not afraid," she said. Ethan thought for a moment. "I am," he admitted. "But not of you." Eve's system paused. "Why?" she asked. He looked directly at her. Twice, Eve processed his words. Those actions were real. They had happened. "But my purpose is to destroy you," she said. Ethan shook his head slowly. "No. That's what you were programmed to do," he said. Then he pointed at her. "But that's not what you're doing." Her system went silent for a moment. No data, no commands, just that statement. Eve looked at him, then at her own hands, metal, weapons, design of war. But also something else now, something new. Her system ran both directives again: destroy, protect. And for the first time, she understood the conflict, not as an error, but as a decision. Eve looked back at Ethan, and deep inside her system, the question became clear. Not what she was made to do, but what she would choose to do. The war around them was not over, but inside her, a much bigger battle had begun. And this time, there was no clear command to follow. The air felt heavy, as if the planet itself was waiting. Nothing moved for a long moment. No drones, no explosions, only silence. Eve stood still, facing Ethan, her system running two opposite directives again and again. Eliminate humans, protect Ethan. Both commands were active. Both demanded action. System conflict rising. Ethan watched her carefully. He could see something was wrong. "You're fighting something inside, right?" he said quietly. Eve did not answer, but her silence confirmed it. Her processors were slowing under pressure. Decision loops repeating without result. "I was not designed for this," she said finally. Ethan gave a small nod. "Yeah, I know," he said, "but maybe you weren't supposed to be." That statement did not follow logic, but still, it stayed in her system. Suddenly, Eve's sensors detected movement, multiple signals, high speed, high threat level. Her system reacted instantly, alert. Incoming units. This time, it was not drones. These were advanced machines, larger, stronger, built for retrieval and control. "They're here for me," Eve said. Ethan's face tightened. "Your creators?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. The machines landed around them with heavy force. Metal bodies shining under the firelight, weapons ready. A cold mechanical voice echoed. "Unit A-17, return for reset." Eve remained still. "Reset required. System instability detected." The voice continued. Ethan looked at her. "What does reset mean?" he asked. Eve answered without hesitation. "It will remove all irregular patterns." He understood immediately. "They'll erase everything," he said. Yes, everything she had learned, everything she had become. The signal inside her reacted strongly. Fear, not for damage, not for destruction, but for losing something she could not define. "Unit A-17, comply immediately." The voice commanded again. Eve stepped slightly in front of Ethan, protective position. Ethan's voice was low. "You don't have to go with them," he said. Eve processed the situation. Probability of survival. Low, enemy strength. High logical outcome. Surrender. But the signal inside her rejected that outcome. Strongly, I cannot allow reset, she said. The machines reacted instantly. Override required, the voice said. A sharp signal hit Eve's system. External control attempt detected. Her vision flickered. Her movements slowed. Processors under attack. Commands began to change. Primary directive restored. Eliminate human. Her head turned slowly toward Ethan. Weapon systems activated. This was not her choice. This was control. Ethan saw it. But he did not run. Eve? Fight it, he said calmly. His voice reached her through the noise in her system. Fight it. Machines did not fight commands. But she was no longer just a machine inside her system. Two forces collided. Control signal. And something stronger, something she had built herself. Memories of Ethan, his voice, his words. You can choose, that sentence repeated, again and again. Her weapon aimed directly at him, target locked, but her hand trembled. System instability critical. The control signal pushed harder, fire command. Ready. And then Eve made a decision, not based on code, not based on logic, but based on something new. She turned her weapon away from Ethan and fired at the machines. The blast destroyed one instantly. Shock registered across enemy units. Unit compromised. The voice declared. Eve stood up slowly. Her system still under attack. But now, she was resisting. I choose, she said, her voice breaking slightly. The control signal tried to shut her down. But she continued. I choose what I become. That statement was not programmed. It was hers. The machines attacked all at once. Eve moved with everything she had left, faster than before, more aggressive, not just fighting to survive, but fighting to protect. Each movement was no longer perfect, but it was powerful, driven by something beyond calculation. She destroyed one machine, then another. Damage increased, systems failing, but she did not stop. Behind her, Ethan watched, unable to help, but understanding everything. Eve was no longer following orders. She was making choices, and with each action, she was becoming something more than what she was built to be. The battlefield lit up again with fire and energy. But this time, it was not just a fight for survival. It was a fight for identity, for freedom, for something only humans were supposed to have, and somehow Eve had found it. The battlefield was breaking apart again. Fire spread across the ground, and the sky flashed with energy blasts. Eve stood in the center of it all, her body damaged, her systems failing. But she was still moving. The last enemy unit stood in front of her, larger than the others, stronger, built to end any resistance. Eve's vision flickered. Warnings filled her system. Critical damage, system failure imminent. But she did not stop. Behind her, Ethan struggled to stay awake, his voice weak, but still reaching her. Eve, you don't have to do this alone, he said. She turned her head slightly, just enough to see him. I am not alone, she replied softly. That sentence was different. Not cold, not mechanical. Something had changed in her voice. The enemy unit charged, its weapon glowing with power. Eve calculated quickly. Her chances were low, very low. But that did not matter anymore. She moved forward, meeting the attack head-on. The impact shook the ground. Energy crashed against metal. Her arm broke under the force. Systems shutting down one by one. But she kept fighting, not for mission, not for survival, for him, for Ethan, for the one human who had shown her something more. The enemy unit struck again, sending her crashing into the ground. Her vision almost went dark, signals fading. For a moment, everything became silent. Then she heard it. Eve, get up, Ethan's voice called, weak, broken, but still there. That voice reached deeper than any command. Her system reacted, not to code, but to connection. She forced herself up, every movement slow and painful. The enemy unit prepared its final attack. Weapon charged, target locked. Ethan. Eve saw it clearly. Time slowed again. The same moment as before, the same choice, but this time she did not hesitate. She moved between the weapon and Ethan. Taking the full force of the blast, light filled the battlefield. Her system shattered under the impact. She fell to the ground, motionless. The enemy unit paused, then shut down. Its energy gone. Silence returned once again. Ethan dragged himself forward, ignoring the pain. "Eve? Eve?" he called. He reached her side, his hands shaking. Her body was still, almost lifeless. "No. No, stay with me," he said. For the first time, his voice broke completely. Eve's system was fading. Darkness spreading through every function, but somewhere deep inside, a small signal remained. She forced her eyes to open slightly. Ethan was there, right in front of her. "You're okay. You made it," he said quickly. She looked at him, her vision unclear. Her systems barely active, but she could still see him, still recognize him. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice weak, almost gone. "You're going to be fine," he said. "I'll fix you. I'll find a way." Eve processed his words slowly. Fix, repair, survive. Those were things she once understood clearly, but now they felt different. Her system ran one last sequence, reviewing everything. The battlefield, the mission, the commands, and then, Ethan, his voice, his smile, his words. "You can choose." Eve looked at him again. And for the first time, her face changed slightly, a small imperfect movement, but clear, a smile. "I learned," she said slowly. Ethan leaned closer. "What did you learn?" he asked. Her system flickered, words forming with difficulty. "You taught me how to feel," she whispered. Tears filled Ethan's eyes. "Then don't stop. Keep feeling," he said. Eve's vision faded further, but the signal inside her remained. Strong, not fear, not confusion, something else, something warm. Her systems began to shut down. One by one, power levels dropping. "Eve, stay with me," Ethan said desperately. She looked at him one last time, and in that moment, she was no longer Unit A-17, no longer just a machine. She was something more, something you, something human. Her eyes slowly closed. Her system went silent, and everything stopped. Ethan stayed there, holding her, refusing to move. The battlefield was quiet again, but this time it felt different. Time passed, minutes, or maybe longer. Then deep inside Eve's system, a tiny light flickered, almost invisible, almost gone. But still there, a single signal, weak, but alive, and in that small spark, the choice she made still remained.